special meeting for August 7th, 2024. All right, thanks. I can say that again. We have started the Single Family Design Board hearing for August 7th, 2025. This is a special meeting. We'll start with some roll call.
Thank you. I will proceed with roll call. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moselhe,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry.
Yes.
We have quorum.
Great. Okay, and our first item is public comment. Do we have any general public comment for something not on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. If anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, and so we will turn our attention to virtual comment. And at this time, I see no hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Okay, great. The next item is approval of the minutes for the full board meeting on July 15th. Flipping through those, that was the one where we went through all of the ADUs. And on item 3 and 4, I was wondering if the maker of the motion wants to see how best to describe item 4. And Board Member Sherry, I think that was you.
Oh,
So,
and just for clarification, do you mean the actual like items 3 and 4 here?
the ADU item, yeah, number 3, and then it's the note 4, which says the exterior materials be consistent per style as well. Do not combine exterior wall treatments. And I wonder if we can be a little bit more specific about what it means to do not combine exterior wall treatments, and or just remove that statement. Yeah.
Just remove that second part of that sentence.
Also, my screen is not working, so we'll test that out separate. And that's for both agenda item 3 and 4, because it's the same statement. So if you can remove it for both of them. Thanks. And then on ADU number 6, item 5, if it can say provide specific material palettes for all design options. And then there's just a small kind of typo at the very top under announcements, item number 2. We welcome Shanar twice in the statement, which is great, and you're very welcome. But that second welcome can go away, that are very welcome. If you just want to update that. But otherwise, those were my comments. Any other? Okay, then I'll move to approve the minutes as noted for the full board meeting on July 15th.
Second.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moselhe,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we will do approval of the minutes from the consent meeting on July 8th. That was Board Member Sherry.
You can fast forward a little quickly through. Now, just stop at the motion, maybe, Joni. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. I'll make a motion to approve these minutes from July 8th? Yeah.
I'll second. Yes?
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and now approval of the minutes for the consent meeting on July 15th. I believe that was me. Yeah, scroll. Mhm. That looks good. That looks good. Mm-hmm. Okay, I move to approve the consent meeting minutes for July 15th.
I have a question.
Yes. Oh.
Second, can you second it?
Yeah. I'll second the minute motion.
Under discussion, question for staff. One of the items on the agenda was one of our office's previous projects. And in the past, when this item has come up and it's been postponed, and maybe it even was seen before, I had abstained because of being a past applicant. I don't know whether that's considered a conflict of interest. This is just ratifying the minutes that I was not in attendance at the meeting, nor did I have anything to do with the meeting and would have stepped down. So I don't know if we need to table the ratification because of that, or whether it's fine for me to ratify them because I was not on the board. I was not at the meeting or any part of it.
Yeah, if I would abstain.
And we can and
But do
still.
we have enough? We'll
Yeah.
Okay, then
yeah,
I'll abstain.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Okay, next we will do ratification.
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
didn't
sorry.
get a chance to do the vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry.
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Okay, thanks. And now we will do ratification of the action taken. Do we need to do all of these separately, or do we do them as a bundle, staff?
That's a great question. If you,
If we find any errors, we'll unbundle them.
let me think about this one real quick.
Okay, well, why don't we go item by item and,
Yeah, I think that it would be best. Because we're only ratifying the actions themselves and we're not exactly reviewing each of the minutes themselves, I think that reference to the actions, not necessarily, going over 231 Remedo, project design approval and final, like stating those are necessary because they're presented on the agenda. So I believe your ratification motion can simply just contain all the dates
Great.
for the consent hearings. I think that is okay. And if there are any issues, the members of the public can still access this agenda and get in touch with us about any of them specifically. So doing them all at once should be okay. Thank you.
so do you want me to read through them, or what do you want me to? Or we just look at them?
Didn't we
and-
already approve them? We're just ratifying?
Yeah, so it's only ratification. So what I can do is bring up the agenda. Thanks for bearing with me.
That's okay, this is a new
We,
system.
yeah, we usually don't have like 4 consent
Right.
agendas to approve in one sitting, so, or to ratify. Okay, let's see here. All right. So in this instance, I'm just going to use the agenda with the actual actions on them, where we mention them, and we are looking at June 24th for each of these 4 items, and as well as July 22nd for those 2 items, July 29th for those 4 items. And then for August 5th, let me announce these 2. So 903 West Mission Street, that did receive project design approval and final approval with a condition. And the second item, 1740 Overlook Lane, it was continued indefinitely.
Okay, I move to ratify the actions taken on the consent calendar for June 24th, July 22nd, and 29th, and August 5th.
Second.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great. And I may have, oh, there it is, announcements. Any announcements?
Yes, so I do have a few announcements. We do have recruitment opening again for the 5th position here at SFDB in late August. And we're pretty optimistic about filling in that spot. We already have a pool of applicants from the last review cycle, but we've also been talking with local community architects and trying to get more people involved and apply. And the second announcement was that we will be having an ADU discussion item next Monday before we review the standard ADU resubmittals again. So just wanted to put that on the radar.
Can I add a note for the ADU meeting? Can staff also include a quick summary of comments made by both HLC and ABR?
So to clarify is that the next Monday will only be a discussion item. So we're not actually going to be looking at the approvals.
Correct. That's what I'm
Okay,
wanting as a
perfect.
part of the discussion
Sure.
item for staff to summarize the feelings of the other board and what was shared when they received the ADUs and saw them.
Okay, perfect.
And then for the recruitment, what is the date to apply by?
I don't have the exact date. I just know it's in late August.
Okay.
I believe council has to review it and then approve it, and I think that's the day that it opens. I'm not sure when that late August city council hearing is. I don't have it at the tip of my
Okay,
tongue.
thank you. Any other announcements from board members? No. Okay, so we will start with our first item. This is a continued item here for concept review, 2503 Medcliff Road. The 28,015 square foot site is currently developed with a 1-story single-unit residence with an attached 2-car garage. The project involves a 1,507 square foot 1-story addition to the residence, removal of a non-native Brazilian pepper tree, and 4 eucalyptus trees to be replaced with 5 western redbud trees. Removal of as-built wood decks and wood fencing. The proposed total of 3,870 square feet on a 28,015 square foot lot is 81% of the maximum guideline Florida lot area ratio. Planning Commission review and approval of the coastal development permit is required. No final appealable decisions will be made at this hearing. The project was last heard on June 3rd. So welcome. We will start with any staff comments.
Thank you. I'm Pilar Plummer, Associate Planner with the city. And just to provide a little clarification about why this is back before you for a concept review. So we're looking to send this to Planning Commission, as you noted in the project description and footer, for a coastal development permit. Some of the findings that we want to relay is general consistency with the neighborhood compatibility findings. In your last review, you still had some additional comments and overall context with the neighborhood, how this would relate to the development and the neighborhood itself, as well as about trees and some other items. So just in your review today, if you can include, while you're not making the findings, if the board feels that the project is consistent, generally speaking, with the neighborhood compatibility findings, and any other information you think is relevant for the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, before we get started, can we troubleshoot why this is not working, or I will slide over? Is it plugged in?
Can we get the minutes for the last meeting?
Are they pulled up? Oh, yeah, I will introduce that when I ask.
Let's see.
Oh, yes, it's working
here.
now.
Okay, yeah.
Something happened? Did I touch something? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay. Okay. So if you don't mind making sure your microphone is on, stating your name for the record, and oh, if you press push.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hello, my name is Ken Unger, and I'm the owner
Great.
of this property.
And then in your presentation, if you can include the third tab on your sheet shows the previous minutes, and incorporate in there. Oh, sorry, at the very top, the third
Oh,
tab has the minutes, and if you include in there the motions, and we can look at how you've addressed them.
Okay. Sorry, before I get started, you mentioned that there was 5 trees that needed to be removed, or?
Through the chair to the applicant. So that's just based on the arborist report that was
Right.
provided, right? So you can add on to that, but that was based on the report.
I just want to point out that several of the trees have fallen
Yeah.
already, naturally, and it's this might be a little bit off topic, but I think it's imperative, because another tree is leaning, that I want to remove these trees as soon as possible, because they're a danger. They could fall down onto the beach or on my neighbor's property. So anyway, that's not what we're here for. But I'll take a look at the minutes and address each item as we go through it. Okay, public comment, approval,
Yeah, if you
consent.
scroll down, we'll find your address. There we
Okay,
go.
all right, okay.
And then a little bit lower,
Staff comments or?
and then the motion.
The motion, okay. The board generally supports the one-story project size, bulk scale, general footprint, and design pending verification of the site section. Okay, to support the height, proposed height. So let me go back to the plans to show you that. And let me go to photos first, I suppose. Wait, these are older. Let's go to the plans. Okay, so you guys asked me to provide additional photography of my neighbors, some of the properties in the area, and so on. So I wanted to show you first my neighbors. This up here in the upper left is my neighbor to the north. Here's two shots of that. This is sort of from the front, and this is kind of from the side. You can see it kind of looms a little bit there. I think I have another shot from the rear of that building too. But, yeah, here it is from the rear. And here you can see it in context. Here's my house here. So you can see it's a good 7 to 8 feet higher. My neighbor to my south is here's over here. He's pretty camouflaged from my property, but you can see also in terms of his height, that's from the driveway, from the private driveway. That's probably and this is my view of his property from my yard, so I couldn't really get a great shot of it. But he's also about the same height as my other neighbor, both of which are taller than I am. Okay, in the site section. So here you can see my site plan and a sort of blown up version of it, and you can see the section call out right here. And there's the section below. Here's my property here. Here's my property to the north. You can see they're quite a bit set back from our common property line. And here's the property to my south. This is the addition on the side of my house. See, that's a section through a gable, not a section through a flat roof. Okay, to go back to the minutes. The board would like to see street photos of the neighborhood and views from within the property, looking at the neighbors to understand privacy. I think I just addressed that. Okay. The board would like to see a site section silhouette to help understand the views of the rear elevation and partial footprints of where the adjacent neighbors' homes begin. Okay. So here, back to this drawing here, you can see here is my neighbor to my south, and my neighbor to my north is right here. I just did a partial view of that. There, it's right there. So you can see again. Here's our common property line. They're pretty far back. And what was the rest of that comment? Oh, the other site section. Sorry. Here's the site section. You can see through the bluff. You can see here's sort of the edge of the bluff, and here's how my property sits back from it. And then if you go back to my photographs, you can, I went out in the water to take this picture right here. You can see those are the trees on the property. If we zoom in on it, is there a zoom here?
It's a touch screen.
Okay, here, oh, touch screen. Okay, I can zoom in on it. Just wanted to show, this is a tree that fell a few months ago. And I'm afraid that that's what's next for some of these other trees. But you can see that you can't really see anything on my property. This is my neighbor to my south. That's their fence on my property here. Those are the trees that I showed you in the yard. Updated landscape plan. Okay, the board would like to see an updated landscape plan and additional detailing, especially of the soldier course of the headers of the garage and front opening, the head of the parapet where the windows meet, the metal fascia on the front elevation, amongst others. Okay. Okay. Scroll back. Okay, so as far as landscaping is concerned, basically I have new trees out here in the front of the property that are replacing the ones that we are proposing to remove. And on this side of the property here, I have a bunch of existing trees that we are going to protect and keep. It was mentioned at our last hearing that there was a pepper tree that needed to be removed. And I'll show you a picture of that tree. That is, where is that tree? Right here. You can see it's right up against my house right now, and it's already pulling up the foundation. So that even though this structure is not moving or being added onto, that tree is really undermining the footings on that part of the structure. We're keeping the existing driveway. It's a gravel drive. It's existing it's an existing pervious driveway, and also we're just creating a new walkway, relocating an existing walkway to the front door. And we have an existing patio already on the back of the house. You can see it right here in this photograph that we're keeping. So from a landscape perspective, it's really just a matter of keeping the existing trees and providing the new trees towards the front of the property. As far as the detailing is concerned, let's take a look at our elevations. So we talked last time about aligning the openings, and I took care of that. We talked about this detail on this stone parapet, sort of on the side, and I'll show you the detail for that. And then we talked about what's my stone call out, and B, what does the soldier course look like above all the openings. And I have my detail sheet here. First of all, this is that stone parapet that's in front of the house. The stone comes up and wraps around the top and back, so you don't really see any of the flashing behind it. Here's a detail of the stone header above all my openings. It's basically the stone itself is varied in height and varied in width, and I had an image of it. I'll show you here, right here. Here's an image of it on my elevations. And then I think that was, from a detailing perspective, I think that covers it. To go back to my minutes. The board is in support of removing the trees, given the structural issues and integrity of the trees. The board is considering the appropriateness of the 12-foot height of the proposed renovation. You guys mentioned that you wanted to make sure we were not in violation of the compatibility or compatible with my neighbors, and I think I showed that by the height of the neighbors. And then if you look at some of my other properties just in the vicinity, you can see they vary in height. Many houses along our street are 2-story. We're not obviously going that high. we are going one story. Here, go back to the pictures. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular item. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will move on to virtual comment. And there are no hands raised for virtual comment on this particular item, and we did not receive any written correspondence. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Okay, great. We will start with questions. Are there questions from the board?
The only question I have, maybe it's a comment, the top left photos, it says west neighbor.
This photo?
Yeah, these
Oh.
two. So
Yeah.
they're north, yeah?
My
Or like, it
apologies.
depends like how you put
As
it
you,
on.
as you
I
know,
was
Santa Barbara's
confused
kind of.
Yeah, I was confused to direct
You're right, it's
myself on the
actually
plan.
west.
Okay.
Our house actually faces west.
West,
But
yeah.
for some reason, in my
Okay.
head, when I'm standing out there, I feel like one's to my north and one's to my south. But
Exactly.
it's really west and east.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, so the neighbors that you were showing on the section
Correct.
were west and east,
Correct.
yeah? Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. The only question, which I think we can go either way, but one of the recommendations was doing a soldier course up above, and it looks like it'll kind of continue the same coursing of the stone.
I thought about that, and to be honest with you, I liked, let me go back to my image here. I just felt it was, at least for me personally, it was a little bit more natural, for lack of a better word, to just keep this pattern going across the openings. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Great. We'll move to comments. Do you want to start?
So you don't have the, like, in this picture is not showing the window head like piece, it's like the same?
Yeah, the window head would be one of the, so you can
Okay,
see
one
that
of
all the lines are horizontal. So we would line it up, so you have a horizontal line that hits above each window. Correct.
Tagging on to that comment, is there any way to get the header to be one piece of stone? Because it looks like some of those pieces in that
Some of them
example are
can be
longer.
pretty big, yeah.
Because then it would look like a lintel, you know?
I understand. I'd have to talk to my mason about that. I mean, probably on the smaller windows, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid to commit to that on, let's say, the garage door right there. That would be
Yeah, that won't
humongous.
work.
But I intend when I do it to have the bigger pieces as my stone headers. I wouldn't have a 4-inch lintel above each opening. I would,
Right, it
as
would
you
be
can
the
see,
thicker, it would be the taller one.
you can see in my detail, that's the way I show it.
Yeah. I think that's my only comment. I think
Yeah,
the
you can
project's
see.
really nice. My only comment is that if the span is longer than what you can do in a single piece of stone, then you might want to consider doing it, I don't know, that long, it would have to be steel to even make sense
Yeah,
structurally.
it
So,
would be, none of that would
it
be
wouldn't
as,
even make sense unless it was like a really big, heavy timber. So it's kind of one of those weird things about stone veneer that you can't really, it's like hard to make it realistic. That's my only comment is
That's
maybe,
kinda why,
but that's a
yeah.
detail that can be worked out later.
that's kind of why I wanted to keep the pattern sort of
Yeah, I understand.
going and not interrupt it, because especially the garage door, which is probably my most prominent lintel,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a humongous piece of stone. I don't know that we could get that.
Yeah, and that would just not make sense, so,
Yeah.
it's not gonna make or break this project. The project's a nice project.
I think the key here is that I'm aligning, as you can see by my detail.
Mm-hmm.
This is my opening. That would be a horizontal line. I wouldn't have two pieces
Right.
fluctuating on that corner.
Okay, great. I appreciate all the work to kind of address every comment, and having the report on the trees is helpful. I think I can be in support of the changes there. And same with the height. I think all the material is very helpful in making the neighborhood preservation findings. And I am curious if the board feels that this project could go to consent for PDA and final together. Any other comments from the board? No? Okay. So I'll move to move this project to the consent calendar.
To indefinite
oh.
continuance to the
Yes.
staff hearing officer.
So,
or planning commission.
Both.
That's correct. So through the chair, if in your motion you would say continue indefinitely to the planning commission and return to the consent calendar for project design approval and final approval, that
Okay,
would be
thanks.
that'd be great. Thanks.
So I move to continue this project indefinitely to the planning commission and return to consent for project design approval and final approval with the following comments. The board finds the size, bulk, and scale compatible with the neighborhood. The board is in support of the removal and mediation of trees. The board finds the materials and language compatible with the neighborhood and thinks the project is ready for project design approval.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we'll take vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehi,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
We are early, so we will take a break for how, wait, are we that much early? 15 minutes.
Yeah.
35, so just 3 minutes early.
Yeah, 3 minutes early, and I'm not sure. It doesn't look like the applicant is here for this project yet for 3002 Seacliff. So
3:50. We're 20 minutes early.
yeah, I
No,
don't.
I know, but we can start 15 minutes
Oh,
before.
Yeah, we can start 15 minutes before the scheduled time.
Right.
So, but the applicant isn't here. So even if we wanted to start, we couldn't. So if we just want to.
Do you want to call them?
That would be helpful.
Yeah, if we want to, Board Chair Lewis, if you want to request a recess until 3:45 and see what happens,
Or recess till 3:40, because if they're here
or until
early, I
3:40?
want to
Okay,
start early.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
we'll do that. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. meeting. We are on item number 2. This is a continued item here for project design approval. 3002 Sea Cliff. The 3.01 acre site is currently developed with a 3,070 square foot single unit residence and a 409 square foot attached 2-car garage. The project consists of a proposal to construct a new 1,200 square foot detached 2-story accessory dwelling unit with a 254 square foot single car garage at the lower level. The proposed total of 4,933 square feet on a 3.01 acre parcel is 81% of the maximum guideline Florida lot area ratio. Staff hearing officer approval of a coastal development permit was granted on June 12, 2024. PDA is requested. The project was last heard on September 12th. We'll start with staff comments.
Through the chair, actually for this particular item, I don't have any particular comments other than that, as you noted, the staff hearing officer recently approved a coastal development permit for this project related to it being an accessory dwelling unit in the coastal zone. So they're here today for project design approval. We'll return later for final. So it would just be if similar to the last project, if this warrants going to consent afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So I watched the video from the past, and you were here 2 years ago. So if you wouldn't mind giving us an overview and also reviewing the minutes and the motions on the second tab.
Yeah.
And make sure to, did you already? State your name for the record.
Sorry, Jason Grant with J. Grant Design Studio. From the previous comments. So from 2 years ago, the board generally finds the second story aesthetically appropriate. I agree. It's a good board. Board generally finds the proposed bulk size and scale aesthetically appropriate. Yep. Item 3, raise the 2 second-story window casement windows. We had larger windows, and I'll show you on that elevation. So we raised that sill height up so we're not looking down into the neighbor. Along the north elevation, the board finds the second story acceptable. There was a note, where was that? Size, bulk, and scale. Okay, I think that's it. I'm not missing anything, I don't think. So I'll go back to the plans. So we are here at the very end of Sea Cliff, and that's kind of up above Henry's Beach and off to the other side. And so we kind of sit right up in here on a large parcel. And there's our staff hearing. And so I'll show the board the photos because I think they're the most important and just in terms of aesthetics. And so the proposed ADU is going kind of right in this open space that's here, and you can kind of see the size of the existing foliage that's there, and we maintain all that, and we kind of specifically kind of sited it so it kind of sits in this little open spot where there was originally like a bocce ball court or something. And so we're kind of putting it in that location. You can see the existing house. We redid this, I don't know, a handful of years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And so I'll just point out to the materials and the roofing material and all that. We're really just kind of making a smaller little box of the house that's there. This aerial, which was kind of done kind of just post-construction, kind of shows you where the existing house sits. And then again, there's more foliage now, but this is kind of the little spot where the ADU is going to sit. And there's another shot. Oh, this one's actually kind of important. Here we are located at the end right here. And so here's our closest kind of residence. And this is just to kind of show that this is their driveway. It kind of comes in, that's their garage, and their house is kind of set down. So they maintain their view here. And there's the location of the ADU. And so kind of quite intentionally put that where we're not obviously blocking their view, kind of in a location where we're not looking at a private space or any of those things. And so we kind of think that siding works out well. So here is our site. So ADU sitting here, 15-foot setback. The only portion that kind of goes into that is just is our elevator shaft that's right here, and so and I'll show you what that looks like in the elevation. So that's the only portion that gets a little bit closer than the 15 feet. And again, there's the site overall, showing the trees and the foliage and all the items. I mean, all the existing planting that's there. There's an existing kind of orchard out there that the owners have put in through the years, and so we have to relocate a few citrus or maybe lose a plum tree here or there, but it's kind of really minor stuff. And so here is the proposed ADU, same as it was 2 years ago, essentially, other than those windows on that north elevation. North elevation, these ones here. So these had a longer, deeper sill, and so they're just a higher, smaller window. So I think it's like a 2026 or something like that, roughly. And so, again, those are the only windows on that side. And again, all the detailing will just kind of pick up, it'll be mirrored of what the main house is: smooth trowel plaster, standing seam roof, high quality doors and windows are basically all casements, clad exterior, wood frame. Functioning in different ways. The windows are casement, and the doors, we're sliding them into the wall, much like we did in this house here. So, and then some of the architectural detailing, again, will just match, cable roll detail, which is the same as on the main house. The head and sill detail, head and door threshold detail, electrical, and elevator shaft detail, which I don't think anybody cares that much about. And so with that, happy to answer any questions or any concerns.
Okay, great. We'll move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips for this particular item. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will go ahead and look at virtual comment. I do not have any hands raised for this particular item, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this item. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Great. Any questions from the board?
Can you show us on the old plans the north elevation and compare it with the new updated one?
It's on your third tab
the
of
third
the PDF.
tab.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the
Old
third
plan,
tab.
boom, right
Yeah,
here.
just the north elevation, and
Yep.
then go back to the north
Yeah.
elevation.
Let me see. It's blurry on mine, but here are
Okay.
those two windows that were sitting lower, and so those were raised up.
It's thinking.
It's, yeah. it's-
Okay, so
or my
that's
eye-
the
or
change.
my eyes are worse than ever. Oh, there it is, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where you're seeing that change there.
Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit more about the change that happened there on the left? I know there was some discussion in the meeting too about it,
Oh, yeah, no, thank you.
breaking up the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. So that's the portion where we have the deck area. We had a solid wall, so a solid wall plaster. One of the board members who isn't here anymore said, hey, it'd be nice if you articulated that a little bit. So yes, you are correct. Thank you for pointing that out. We did. We offset that about a foot just so that it's not as continuous plaster wall. And then on the new plan, that difference is, so there's that little step back, and then we pick up a little roof element. So it just breaks it up slightly. It's just, a way to articulate a little bit more. So, yeah, we did incorporate that as well. Thank you.
Any other questions?
And how tall are the trees between the north side with the neighbor where there are,
So
like, is it like the same height as the ADU?
they really are. It's grown in quite well, and so it's I don't know the exact height, but it really will kind of obscure. I don't think you'll be able to really see this from almost any angle.
Okay, thank you.
So the overhang at the lower left-hand corner is deeper at that end where there's an offset on the lower level.
Yeah,
And because the eave just continues, so it just becomes a deeper,
Exactly, and you kind of
I see it there
you
on
see it
the
on that
east, now that
elevation,
you brought
yeah.
the page up.
Yeah.
Did you need a mod for, I forgot, did you need a mod for a setback?
I did not.
You did not, because it's allowed to be,
Because it's allowed to be closer because it's an ADU, and so,
because it's an ADU.
Yeah.
It could have been, what could it have been? Like, not 4 feet, because
so
it's two-story, or what?
Through the chair, board member, so, and I think on the site plan, you're about 15 feet away from the northerly
So,
lot line.
the main
Yeah.
wall is 15 feet, and so,
Yeah,
it's just
so
this,
to be clear, technically, yes, 4 feet, but there is an easement as well, I believe, over in that area that they had to respect, so it's also set back in respect of that. Yeah, but 4 feet for a typical interior lot line, yes.
Okay. No more questions.
Okay, we'll move to comments. I mean, I think in general, the board seemed very in support of the project before, and the minor items that they wanted you to look at, you've addressed. Are there any other comments from the board?
I just had one. I think you're going to need tighter spacing on your cable railing.
I agree.
With the 4-inch, that's fair.
That's my only kind. It looked funny. And now I understand if it is a cable railing, you're gonna need at least one more.
You got it
But-
right.
But that's minor.
Well
I think
done.
it's nice project.
No more
No more
comments.
comments? Okay. I do think this can go to consent for final approval. Does the board agree?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will move to continue this project indefinitely to the consent calendar. And I move to approve, sorry, I move to approve this project for project design approval and continue to consent for final approval with the following comments. The proposed development is consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. The proposed development is compatible with the neighborhood and its size, bulk, and scale is appropriate to the site and neighborhood. The proposed building and structures are designed with quality architectural details that match the existing residence. The proposed materials and colors maintain the natural appearance of the ridgeline or hillside. There are no trees to be removed. The public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. The project generally complies with the Good Neighbor Guidelines regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting. The development, including proposed structures and grading, preserves significant public scenic views of and from the hillside. The development, including the proposed structures and grading, is appropriate to the site, is designed to avoid visible scarring, and does not significantly modify the natural topography of the site or natural appearance of any ridgeline or hillside. The development maintains a scale and form that blends with the hillside by minimizing the visual appearance of the structure and overall height of the structure. And much of the building is screened by existing plantings.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
Great,
appreciate
thank
it. Hopefully I'll see you guys sooner than 2 years. But
Yeah, right. And just a note to the applicant is that does start the appeal period, so just 10 calendar days from now, and if we don't hear anything, then we'll just be waiting for your final approval resubmittal.
sounds great.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, and we will need to break until 4:05. the special meeting on August 7th. Okay, we are on to item 3, which is a new item here for concept review. 1039 Seamelinda Lane, proposal for a 4,950 square feet of landscaping and 1,682 square feet of pervious paving, new pool, spa, retaining walls, fencing, outdoor kitchen with oven, and trellis. 350 cubic yards of grading is proposed in the Hillside Design District. We will have to make grading findings and vegetation removal findings when the project's reviewed for PDA. So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to provide a staff comment on this, is that when this project came in, the applicant was intending to try to get this project administratively approved. The pool and a lot of the outdoor work we thought would qualify for administrative approval. What bounced it out was the amount of landscaping and the amount of grading proposed in the Hillside Design District. And so that is why it's here today, specifically because of the amount of landscaping and grading in the hillside. And maybe the applicant can provide some more information on whether or not native vegetation is proposed for removal or not. Staff cannot administratively approve native vegetation removal. So, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm Kaylee Greb with Arcadia Studio. And I'll just orient you to the site first. As you may know, Seamelinda is kind of it's a loop. And so we're on the western portion of the loop facing west, so like kind of facing Eucalyptus Hill Road. So the adjacent neighbors, it's also not I think, true flag lot, but essentially flag lot. It has a long driveway with very little street frontage presence. So its neighbors are tucked back here, and so this is probably the closest adjacent neighbor, and the area of the scope of work is limited to this area of the property. It's an existing house, existing motor court, paving, fire accesses through here, which none of that we're touching. And so it's really a landscape project, just requires some grading because it's on a slope, the hillside back there. And it's the portion we are working in. So we were actually a little bit surprised when we got the request back to have a biological assessment, because it's in an area that it's like a little patch of lawn and Mediterranean plantings, but not native vegetation. And so when we looked at the overlay, there is a oak woodland kind of area over here. And so I think that overlay does come onto the property, but we are going to get a biologist assessment. We already have that in contract and in process, but this portion is not. We anticipate that those findings will be that there won't be anything to mitigate for, and we are also, planting drought-tolerant species and not proposing any lawn. We're removing the existing lawn that's there. It's essentially, the lawn is where the pool and paving will go. So that's the little bit of background on that. I'll clumsily navigate through here. So we'll start with, just to get you oriented, this backyard, actually I'm going to go to the existing photos first. So that is the view from the proposed pool site. I'm standing on kind of our proposed patio looking out over the Infinity Edge pool to their main view. This is looking back at the house, so you can see there's existing paving already, and then there's this existing lawn that's to be removed, non-native palms. We're preserving much of the planting that is up against the house and just augmenting it here and there. And so, yeah, this is why the biological assessment threw us for a second, and then we realized that it was encompassing, kind of wrapping around the north side. So this is the existing residence. We're not planning any changes there. You can see the owner has added these plantings. And she does love these types of plantings, so they'll be similar to what we proposed going back in. They mostly want better utilization of their backyard. Right now, it's kind of rustic paths, some of which will be kept, but we're removing the ice plant and improving the paths for better accessibility. They have a little shed and little paving area that this one will actually be removed and be replaced with a gravel patio to improve to minimize how much impervious surfaces we're adding. So I'll zoom in here. So this is an existing patio that's covered by the house. This is the existing concrete, a section of it that's to remain. And then the current existing concrete that is along the front as the walkway would be replaced with a flagstone pathway and better connectivity to the other spaces. They would really like ramps versus stairs wherever we can for better accessibility. We really tried to balance the amount of impervious surface versus pervious. They want the flexibility to host larger gatherings, but didn't want a sea of paving on the south side of their building, their house. So that's kind of where we transition the flagstone into breaking it up with planted joints. There's the infinity edge pool. The very best view is from the spa here. So, and then a lot of this terracing kind of already exists, and so we're really refining the grading and topography and nestling things into where it really already fits on the site to try to minimize the grading, but because of the pool position, we have some fill back there and a little bit of terracing needed. This is the gravel terrace I mentioned, and they'll have an outdoor kitchen here. There's some existing trees that they already screen this little shed, and they'll help screen the new outdoor kitchen there. And then we're adding a shade trellis here, shade structure here, and stairs down to just be able to better circulate the property. So we have the pool equipment specifications there. We're actually, the next step will be to get structural engineer more engaged. We already have the civil engaged, but we're planning on putting the pool equipment underneath. There's enough grade change that we think we can put the pool equipment as a sort of vault underneath this terrace so that sound and none of that will be a concern. Screening and everything will be dealt with. I'm going to try to zoom out here. These are some of our standard details for the steps and railings. The railings will, for the most part, match what's existing on site. This is a wood fence detail. They already have a lot of wood fencing on the property, so many of the details are to match existing. And this is the trellis profile. The owner really liked having a sort of curve, and so this is in the direction where there's not such a kind of blunt beam as you look out at the view. They liked a little bit of a curve on that, and it's plenty far away from the residence. Just irrigation plans, which I'll scroll through quickly unless anyone's interested. And I think we had a civil plan in here, but it was pretty preliminary. We also have the planting plan. Like I said, she likes the color in the Mediterranean plantings, so it's pretty similar to what was there, just with some more plans to hold the space too, like adding a few more evergreen shrubs to really anchor the hillside and the structures. So I just flash that on the screen unless anyone wants more detail on it. Let's see. And there's our preliminary civil plan. We'll, of course, get into more detail as we go into the building department. So let's see. I think that concludes my set. Yeah, that concludes my presentation. And I'll go back to the first sheet this one, rendered.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
We'll move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular item. However, if anyone wishes to fill out a slip, they may bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so. We will go ahead and turn to virtual comment. I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment. So we will move on to correspondence, and we did receive a letter from a Mr. Steve Hughes in reference to this project. And at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Great. We'll start with questions. Board Member Mosley, no.
And
sorry.
pardon my interruption, but I just got word that the plumber is on their way.
Okay.
So I suppose just be a little ready for that interruption.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and then another note I actually wanted to add to staff comments I forgot to mention, but if the board is inclined to continue this project to consent for project design approval and final approval, it'd be very much appreciated.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Did you have questions?
I did. Do you have a site section through the pool area and the spill wall?
You know, we don't, but we do have some spot elevations on.
Yeah, I saw the top of the wall, but I couldn't see the base of the wall. I was looking for the height, the maximum height of the wall.
I'm just gonna look at the risers. So 396. So when you're, sorry, I don't have my. At this point, you're very close to 396. So the basin wall is about 4 feet up, and then the coping of the pool is 3.5 feet above that. So overall 7.5, but it's broken up with that 4-foot wall below and planting below that.
So
We didn't
the
want
spill
a tall spillway. Sorry to clarify.
So
I didn't mean to cut you off.
the total height of the wall is 6 something?
So
Will you zoom in there
are
on
you
the
asking
pool?
about
I think-
visible or structural?
Visible.
Talking about visible.
You'll see 4 feet of wall for the basin, and then 3.5 feet of infinity edge wall.
Of the spill wall?
Yeah. So the spill wall is actually shorter than the basin wall.
And they're terraced, because the spill wall's behind it.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Like
So you
3 feet
never see a
behind.
full 7 feet of, and we didn't snug. Maybe this is too much detail, but we didn't snug the path up to the basin intentionally because we wanted to be able to have that planting buffer
distance,
in
okay.
between. Yeah.
What is the material of that wall there that you're going to see?
It's most likely going to be a stone, like a non-reflective stone. Yeah. We haven't gone fully through material selection, but that'll be my south facing. That's always my direction with it.
So then, sorry, I'm interrupting the questions, but similar with the equipment storage, then the part that's visible that you'll see for that is how tall?
That will be
We're at
about
296.5.
96, about 7 feet,
7 feet, okay.
which is just barely enough clearance because of the buildup above it. And so they may have a couple steps down into it and figure
Right.
out drainage. We do have room for the drainage to come out of there, but we didn't want to overscale that retaining wall just to
Right.
get the equipment underneath. So,
Right, okay.
and there's planting everywhere except for where the door is there too.
Any other questions?
Can you like roughly say how much like I'm seeing the impermeable area is like 257, the pink part. Like if you go to the civil, it's just like
Sounds about right. Let me go back to
those
the civil.
tiny pink parts, yeah? The additional,
So they calculated it based on additional. So there's existing impervious.
yeah.
So it's probably. I think that's what they're saying is in addition. There's the 200 and
Yeah, but, like,
something.
they're
So
saying
all
it's
together, it'll.
replaced. Like the existing is replaced with permeable, yeah? Is that true?
Yes,
The
those
green area.
areas, yes, they're currently concrete and they'll be replaced with planting. So it's a little, we have like all these categories because
Right.
there's existing impervious to switching to permeable, but then there's additional impervious in other areas because of the redesign. So, yeah.
Great, well, I'll switch to comments. I mean, I think it's a lovely project. It's really nice. I appreciate the stepping back to kind of reduce that overall instead of seeing a 7-foot tall wall. I think during PDA, it'll be nice to see elevations of that lower elevation of both the landing where the pool equipment storage is going to go, and then the part you're going to see of the pool wall. And then it could probably just be a section of it. I don't think it needs to be the full thing, just to understand that material and what you're going to see visibly. But I appreciate the plantings in front of there as well. And I'm not concerned of the change of landscape. Is there any site lighting proposed?
Most likely there will be minimal just path lighting. Let me see if I included it in this round.
'Cause that will be a great, I think you might be possible to do PDA and final together. And then if you could have the
Yeah.
site lighting indicated with
will
spec
do.
of what those lights are.
Yes.
And then a material palette for the walls and the flagstone areas.
Sounds good.
Any other?
The only thing I was looking at Google Earth a little bit zoomed out with there's no like view of the neighbor on the south that is like looking to the trellis. Like, I don't think so.
I don't believe so. Their adjacent neighbor, let's see, I'll go back to the vicinity map.
Yeah, I
This
was, like,
neighbor
looking at
is
that.
significantly lower.
Lower.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then
so-
I can't, in all of my times I've been there, I don't believe there's any neighbors in this
No,
direction.
there's
that
not.
would be
I
looking
zoomed
back.
out
Yeah.
completely. I was just,
Yeah.
my question was about like the south neighbor. So
Yeah.
you're saying
They're
they're
lower.
lower, so.
Yeah, and we are planning on, if we go back to the planting, I do have one tree strategically. I didn't want to make the planting feel like it was just a really strict hedge, so we did kind of undulate it by putting a couple olive trees where it's not blocking anyone's view, but to kind of undulate that, not make it feel a little bit more organic. So.
Okay. I move to continue this project indefinitely to the consent calendar for project design approval and final approval. With the following comments. The board is generally in support of the project. The board would like to see material finish photos or palette for the pool wall, terrace wall, terrace structure, and flagstone. The board would like to see an elevation or partial elevation of the pool equipment, storage, and edge of visible pool wall from the westerly elevation.
Second the motion.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy.
Yes.
Board Member Sherry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I think we have the next item scheduled for 4:45, so the earliest, or excuse me, let me make sure, it's at 4:50, apologies, so the soonest we can start that would be, yes, 4:35, correct.
Okay, we will take a break until 4:35.
Perfect, thank you.
Special single-family design board meeting, or do we need to turn the recording back on first?
I
it's
think it's
back?
back
Okay.
on, so
Okay. And we are on our last item, item 4. It's a new item here for concept review, 2436 Calle Andalusia. Proposal for a new 420 square foot single-story addition with a covered patio to an existing 1,575 square foot single-story residence with a 422 square foot attached garage, a 279 square foot addition, and 25 square foot enlarged entry addition are proposed. Repair and replacement of rear yard wood trellis and concrete walkways with permeable surfacing is proposed, and new landscaping is proposed. New trees, reconstruction of the failed retaining wall, and new privacy hedge are also proposed. A utility easement is present on the western property line. The total proposed 2,721 square feet on a 10,019 square foot lot is 73% of the maximum guideline Florida lot area ratio, floor area ratio. Okay, welcome. Are there any staff comments?
yeah, I did have staff comments on this one. So you'll notice here in the footer that we have requests for modification design feedback for this conceptual review. So the project as it's currently designed does not require a modification, but with the way the project is, it is right at the cusp of meeting what we have in zoning called substantial redevelopment. And how it works in the code is that if you're replacing 50% of the roofing system, 50% of the walls structurally, or 50% of the foundation, if you're doing greater than 50% of any of those two combined categories, the whole project falls into substantial redevelopment. The current home is non-conforming to the site, so some portions of the building are in the setbacks. Discussing this with the applicant, right now as designed, they're going to be redoing the roofing system that will be over 50%. The walls currently designed are at 40%. This home, while they're doing work, there might be other issues with the walls that are unforeseen, and it might bump it past that 50, making it require a modification for the rear addition of the project on the lower level. So that's why for this conceptual review is that the applicant has asked if they could get design feedback with that modification in mind to see if the design would still be approvable if the project would trigger a modification later on throughout the process. So you do not need to continue this to show or to PC. It is just sticking with kind of like a standard conceptual review, very broad comments and feedback, and notes on whether if the addition is appropriate and with the non-conforming substantial redevelopment. Thank you.
Okay, great. If you can make sure your microphones are on and both state your name for the record.
Can I ask a
Yes, you can
follow-up
ask a
question
question
right
for
now to
staff.
staff? So just to confirm, if they are under 50% of development, then the addition is allowed to be in the setback and not require a mod. But if you're over 50% development, the addition needs a mod to be encroaching into the interior yard setback. That's why?
Yeah, great question. And the applicant might be able to clarify this on the site plans, but it's actually it's not necessarily that it's the addition itself encroaching into the setback. It's actually that you're not allowed to do over 100 square feet of addition to a home combined with substantial redevelopment. So it's actually not because it's in the setback, but it's because of the square footage of addition that they're proposing in the rear. So the rear addition is outside of setbacks, but for the municipal code says that you cannot do an addition over 100 square feet with substantial redevelopment also proposed. That requires the modification to allow an addition over 100 square feet anywhere on the home. So if that makes sense.
It's a nuance of the code.
It is. It's very nuanced.
Yeah, it's very nuance of the code that so I'll see if I could help.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is our owner, Rochelle Rosales. I'm Chris Manson, architect, board chairwoman, and board members. So the none of the additions that we are asking for right now are non-conforming. They all conform within the setbacks and should be okay. Both situations, with the modification and without the modification, is the exact same design. There is no difference. One thing we do know is that the foundation will hardly be changed except for the addition that we're adding. And so of those three things that come in to that municipal code, that's okay. So it's the other two things, 50% of the roof. And we will do 50% of the roof because once we put the addition on it, we cut the roof out, and that takes up a big part. And then we do a cathedral ceiling in another part. We pretty well have to do it. And the roof was built with 2x4 trusses. So once you cut the truss, we have to then put new framing. So that's going to go in. Now, when I show you the floor plan of the ground floor, all of the walls of the house actually remain the same except for where the addition adds to it. But the walls are all 2x4 walls with no sheathing. That's how the house was built. So the way the city talks about substantial redevelopment is if you trouble the 2x4 studs or you add or put on new sheathing, it's called almost like new. And they don't call that, they want you to call that as part of the amount that you're changing. So we could, we need 2x6 walls for energy. We need sheathing for structural. We could do a lot of things at structural that would be quite onerous to stay without doing a modification. But it's difficult, and we are at about 44% now. And if when we start to open the walls, we find conditions that make us have to remove something, we could get caught while in construction. The city will shut the project down. And they actually make you sign all these documents that talk about you are liable for this and this if you go over the 50 and you say you're not going over the 50. So we want to alleviate that consequence. That would be a huge cost and time for us. So what we're asking is that if it looks like you can accept it under the modification condition, then why don't we just ask for it, get it done now, go through the process, build it, and not have that consequence happen at the wrong time. So, okay, and I think we have a landscape plan in here too that will do. Okay, so I'll just go through the project here. The first survey drawing of the overhead can just show you what the existing building here is. This is Rochelle's family home that she grew up in, which she has now bought from the family, and she is remodeling it so it becomes a kind of a family place that can come back for events. And she has lived in an Eichler home before and really liked it, so some of the inspiration we're taking is from the Eichler style. So that's the home there. Okay, I'm going to go through the neighborhood drawings. This is the house here, 1 story, brown. 2 doors down, these are original homes. It's a 2-story where the top story goes all the way across the width of the house. And then 1 over from that is the same original house, goes all the way across the top, and addition in the back in the same area that we're doing here. Across the street, we have these 2 single-story homes, and then up here on the hill higher up, there's a 2-story home up there. Project site views. This is a view towards the ocean from the eastern side of the house. A view of the backyard right now, which is actually all green with grass, but this is an earlier photo looking towards the east, and here we are the other direction looking towards the west. Then this one here is at the western side of the house. and then this is the same western side, but looking in the other direction. So these are the original drawings of this development. The original drawings, as you can see, is a flipped home. So the drawings, everything on the right-hand side here, it's hard to read because it's a reverse plan that they actually ended up building. And let's see, and that's the original elevations here. And this is the site plan that I did of the original house, the original hardscape, and the hatched area in this back here, the darker hatched area, is the addition. That's a one-story addition. And then the two-story addition is this larger hatch over this area here. So let's see. So here are the floor plans. To show you where this right-hand side where the cursor is right here, that is in the side yard setback, exists right now. And that you can see why we moved the addition over to avoid that. And in the front yard, this part of the garage here is in the front yard setback. So upstairs, it's actually what we're adding is just a one-bedroom volume with a patio out front, a bathroom in the back, stair downstairs. And then the ground floor one is just a one-bedroom dressing going into a master bathroom. And of course, the remodeling in the living room and kitchen just to open it up and make it a little bit more generous. We're adding, where the front door is right back here, we're moving it a little bit forward so that there's a little bit more space on the interior. So really what will happen is in the roofscape, this roof over the house itself is almost going to be rebuilt because of the trusses that have to be cut. And once you cut the truss and we have these little pieces sticking out, you know, we'll have new members in there that we will have to put R30 spray foam insulation in. And right now it's a 2x4, and, you know, we need close to 8 inches of insulation to do that. So it's the walls. And you can see that the only wall that we're changing really to this whole floor plan is making the front door come forward a little bit here, and where these two, where the addition joins it, we will cut that and do there. Everything else is we're either just changing out the doors where the doors are, we're putting 2 doors here where the windows are, over here we're putting 3 doors. And they're all 2x4 walls. So, you know, we can do things that would make this work, but it's just very, very difficult. And the code is just once you get into this substantial redevelopment, anything over 100 square feet added concurrently needs to have a modification. And so that's why we're here. So let's go to the roof. I'd like to go to the elevations if you don't mind. So looking at the east elevation here, the garage is towards the front. This is the original roof here. And we have a 30-foot height limit. Right now, the house is designed at about 26 feet, 5 inches, or 26 feet. So we're quite underneath the height limit. What we would like to do when it's all is said and done, and we've done it the right way, is this roof here remains exactly the same, but it will actually be 10 inches higher. That's all. It just goes up 10 inches. And it's in the exact same place across the whole roof, will just rise by this 10 inches. And that's the one change when you come to doing a change inside of a non-conforming area, and they ask you to stay within certain levels of raising your roof or the slope of the roof and stuff like that. It has to fall within these bounds. That's what we're asking. Can we raise this roof 10 inches? And that's really what we're asking. Let's see. As you can see, this is the front facing the street, south elevation. That's the roof on top, of which there's that flat roof over the patio, which is that icla influence that we're bringing in. So it's more of a cleaner line upper story. And the reason why we're really trying to keep the ground floor design the same way that it always been all this way is that because it's the family residence and everyone grew up there and they're all coming back to the house, there is just this memory of what the house was. And they would like to keep it as much as possible that way. And we certainly feel that that's a good thing. You see this dash line that you see in the existing elevation? I have a dash line in there, and you see how it lines up with the garage here? The reasoning is that the development drawings that they submitted to get their subdivision approved was the garage was over here. And then when they actually built it, they asked the garage to be moved that much over. So in reality, this house is built with the garage where the dash line is, which is exactly the way it is on the south elevation where we are. So that's what it's saying. So here we have some massing that shows you how the house will be in the end. This one on the bottom left is from the rear yard. And the front of the house, of course, here is garage, front entrance, similar windows, covered patio on top. The whole mass of the upper story is dropped back as opposed to the neighbors now, which have their two-story, which runs across the whole width of the house. It's in line with the front wall, so we feel that's appropriate. And then the story addition and the one-story addition in the back is to the rear and really out of the way, I think. So we haven't quite finalized the coloring scheme or anything like that yet, but you know, we'll probably take our cue from the kind of icla coloring of, you know, very simple colors and nothing too loud. So do we have the landscape drawings to show? There was a 4-sheet.
They're on the second tab here.
Oh,
on your
sorry,
phone.
there we go. Okay, so this is our conceptual landscape drawing. I think all of this area here is all hardscape now, all the way back here, and we're going to have this gravel area that has like a fire pit right here, making things a little bit more permeable. We also introduced a new driveway finish here that would have more space where we can have more infiltration of water into the ground, sort of thing. The walkway that exists going all the way around the house now is being reinstated, and that's from the young children that rode their tricycles around and around the house in the old days. And with the new young children, they want to keep that going. So it works well. We've moved the hot tub that was over in this corner over here, and we've moved it over here now. And there is a little bit of a privacy issue where the upper home here, if they get close to the fence, they look straight down onto here, or people walking on the walkway here can see right down here. And this turned out to be a little bit more appropriate because their neighbors here are quite a ways down the hill below them. So it becomes a really nice area to have that. I think everything else is more technical. We have the open yard area and we have the clearances for the driveway, that sort of thing. But I'd love to answer any questions that you might have, and maybe that would cue me into filling you in on other things as you go along.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to questions. Oh, sorry, that's what I meant. Public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular item. And if anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so. We will move on to virtual comment. At this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this particular item. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Okay, thank you. We will move to questions from the board. Do you want to start over here?
I have a question. The part that you explained that you're requesting 10-inch raising the roof is the part that it's in the setback, yeah? That it's built in the setback?
Yes, that little piece, yeah. And that's really why we have to ask for it, yeah. Because that little, let's go back to the floor, I'll go back to the floor plan. So you see this area here?
Yes.
Just that area between that wall and this wall is in the setback. And so that's why we have to ask for it, is that that little portion of roof will end up being 10 inches taller.
And you're not doing any other change for the windows and door on that elevation?
Oh, these windows and doors, yes, will
Are
be changed.
changing, okay.
But without the substantial redevelopment, it will be go through a normal process under, what you call it, it's minor zoning exception, which is pretty normal for having to change windows and doors out in the setback, you know?
Okay. That was my question, just to clarify.
What was that last page? I just, when you got to the end of the set, there was like a, there was,
In
Your
the
section
landscape
rendering
or-
or whatever?
Or the landscape?
no, it's
Yeah.
after the landscape.
Oh,
It was at
yeah, the
very
last
end.
one on the
What is that?
landscape. You know, the landscapers, they have this wonderful ability to take your drawings and put the house in there and then put their
I
landscape
didn't
on.
understand what that was. I didn't understand what the big block was in the middle.
Oh, no,
But
so,
it's a section.
yeah, it's
Oh,
a
I get it.
section
Okay, never mind.
taken through the
Okay.
highest part of that
Got it.
roof.
Okay.
And they show the grades, you know, of the land as above them, below them kind of thing. So
Got it.
we
Never
thought
mind.
it would be helpful in the landscaping when we're describing the landscaping to
Yeah,
Rochelle and
that's
what's
fine.
going on, and so it also helps us show you, so, yeah.
Okay. We'll move to comments then.
I think it's a really nice project, and I don't have anything to say about it. I think it's just, the addition is sensitively located and works well with the existing house, and I don't have an issue raising the plate 10 inches. I don't think it adversely affects the neighborhood or the existing architecture. I think the rear single-story addition is appropriate, and I appreciate the simplicity. Sometimes less is more.
I agree with the board member, and the one thing I would like to see, like the on top of the second floor, the flat roof. Do you have? I know that you guys don't have the material palette, but what are you thinking about? Is it the same material of the roof of the gabled roof, the flat roof? The portion?
So the eaves of the gabled roof, right now, we're thinking that that will be a tongue and groove finish. It can either be that or it can be just flat plaster. We're not sure yet, because we're thinking about this ICLA. ICLA has it both ways, you know. Right now, it's just exposed rafters, you know, 2x4 rafters sticking out. They're not very pleasant right now to look at. So we would like to have this kind of a more solid, plain feel of an ICLA. Now, the upper roof, I think we really want to have like a TNG, fine TNG on it. So I think we're leaning towards this TNG on the eaves. Again, it might come down to the cost issue because of all of this TNG. So if we have the TNG on the flat roof, we may still want to do, you know, just for cost. I think if we had all the money in the world, we'd probably do TNG all the way around. But yeah, that's where we are right now with It's like, that's the next road.
Great. I agree. I think the location of the addition is very sensible, and I think we'd like to see when you come back, obviously the materials, and also the details of what's happening here at the your columns or posts here on your second story, and
Sure.
the railing across, and
Yes.
what's happening at that eave. I'm trying to decide if the proportion of the glass on the second story feels consistent with the neighbors. But I think once you detail the rest and we can kind of see it. But right now it feels glass top heavy a little bit. And it could just be the views that we're seeing. But I think the landscaping looks great. I think we'd want to see if you have any site lighting and any exterior lighting when you come back. And I think when you're considering material palettes, kind of considering your neighbors and bringing in any kind of photos from the neighborhood that help us find the compatibility. I think the height, I think is very reasonable, and I appreciate the sit back into the roof structure. And I think that listening to the board, we feel in support of providing comments to help with the modification if it becomes necessary.
Thank you.
Any other?
I have one thing, like the existing tree on the north, I believe it's northeast. It's existing to remain, yes?
No, actually, it has to come out.
Yeah, because like I was like looking at the first sheet that you have, like the
Okay.
aerial
Existing.
Google, like this big tree.
Yeah,
If you go to the first,
it is a
You're-
large tree.
yeah, and the new structure addition to the first floor, it's getting close to it.
It gets very close, and it would severely prune it to keep it. And you know, Rochelle here is working with the landscape architects, and they will put back a specimen that they like. I'm not sure it will be in that exact same area, and we've asked the landscape architect about the type of tree and everything, and it's not a particularly, well, it's not an oak, and it's not a
It says it's a mulberry.
mulberry. That's the
Okay.
name for it. Yeah. So yes, it has to come out, and unfortunately, you know, we hate to remove mature trees.
Yeah, it caught my eye because it's so big on the aerial.
Yeah.
It's got a very big canopy. I think the new plan, the landscapers actually commented to me that I only have one tree. And so they're gonna correct that and add quite a few trees, actually.
I think we would like to see a native tree be added.
Okay.
And like more landscaping.
Sure.
To just like, because this is like a one-piece tree in the whole land. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Oh, and I just wanted to clarify too that in the SFTB guidelines for landscaping, it's not this book,
Yeah,
but the yellow one.
yeah.
That for tree removals, if they're I think greater than like a 4-inch diameter and taller than 8 feet or something like that above grade, or 4.5 feet above grade, is that generally they do require like a 1-to-1 replacement ratio. So at least one tree, but just wanted to share that other times the board can request more than one replacement. So I just want to make sure you guys are empowered to do that. Thank you.
Thanks. Great. I think the only other thing that I'll point out as a recommendation is to study the sill heights. I'm assuming maybe they're along the staircase, but they feel very close to your roof structure. I'm looking at your massing perspective 3 on page 11. But that's just a recommendation. They're on the bottom left. They're sitting very snug, but okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the exact?
It's the window at the landing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a particularly, I've been looking at that for the last
Yeah.
week. And it's tricky, but yeah, we will.
It's
we
a
will-
recommendation to look.
I think we will take that to
Yeah.
heart, and we will solve that one.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It almost does not work in that
Right.
particular
It's quite
location,
tight.
especially with the sill.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have light at the landing so I can
Agreed.
see where you added it. It could
Yeah.
be taller and just higher above the eave of the lower level.
Yeah.
So that it, because it looks like even, I mean, it looks like it would have a sill at about 3 or 4 feet when you're standing on the landing right before you do the second round of stairs.
Yeah.
And you could, if you even just raised the header, it wouldn't look so
Yes.
like the,
Fallen, yeah.
like the dwarf window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We might have to change it to something else that is maybe not even a normal window size, but you know, like those little squares that we have
Right,
up there.
right.
I was just, you know, I was just thinking about your height. You know?
But even if it's,
Just want to
it's
bring in
just to let
light.
the light in, right? It
Exactly.
might not
It's
even
just to let
open.
the light in,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Put a little porthole.
yeah.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion? Try and try?
Yeah.
No?
Okay. So we would like to continue, the board want to continue the project to indefinitely for the project design approval, to the full board with the comments, with the comments to review and revisit the sill heights of the window in the landing of the stairs. And rethought the landscape addition due to removal of the only tree in the property with the guidelines that was mentioned, that we need to, with the specific size of the tree, that we need, how much more landscape we need to add by removal of that existing tree. What was the other recommendation? In general, board is supportive of the project. It's simple and minimal addition, and we're okay with the 10-inch raise of the gabled roof in the setback. Anything else?
Great. I'll second and I'll add that the board is in support of a modification, given that the addition is minor, and the end.
Under discussion.
Yeah, I think, pardon the interruption, but I think if you want to use the language there below, it might be helpful, since it's just commenting on the design
Okay.
of if it's aesthetically appropriate or not.
Right.
So you could say, you know.
So the board is in support of the modification, given that the proposed design is aesthetically appropriate and compatible with the neighborhood. The modification does not pose consistency issues with the single-family design guidelines. I would also like to add a comment for the architect to study the scale of the windows on the front elevation and provide details of the, I guess, architectural details and material finish boards. Does the maker of the motion accept the changes?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And then under discussion, Chair Lewis mentioned what I was going to say about looking forward to finishes and materials and
palette.
details of the
Yeah.
upper level patio. And I just want to go, just for the purposes of discussion, the reason I'm likely comfortable with the amount of glazing on the second level facing the street is because there's a different language going on there, and I think that if anything, the amount of glazing on the existing house might be undersized.
Right, it's the balance
So
of it.
it's, So And the fact that it's stepped back and in the shadow of a flat covered patio,
You may not notice
and
it
that it
as
is
much.
somewhat of a different language, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Just, I know you'll look at it and figure out the best thing to do.
Yeah.
We really appreciate the wording. I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And what you have given us already is a path towards that, because when we raise that roof a little bit, the downstairs windows are more visible.
Perfect.
You know,
Okay.
and what happened is we have this old ranch house that was very low plate, right? So we go up 4.5 inches on the plate, and you get up a little bit higher, and then we could probably take off the plate height of the top floor, come down a little bit, and we
Perfect.
bring those two into
Okay.
more of a
Alignment.
compatibility.
Okay, great.
So we kind of, thanks for the wording. We enjoy the wording because it, you know, you're saying the things that I've been grappling with for the last few weeks, you know.
Okay.
So
Well, we'll take a
Okay.
vote on the motion.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehi,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right. Thank you very much.
thanks so very much.
Thank you.
And with that, our Single-Family Design Board meeting for August 7th is ended, adjourned.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.